Come closer now and listen. I will tell you a great love story. Not the one the trumpets carried, not the one carved into stone, not the tale of crowns and armies, or the king upon his throne. Those songs were sung in every hall, they crossed the years like flame. They kept the sword, the field, the crown, the glory and the name. But somewhere in the healing rooms, where candles fought the night, another story breathed unseen, too quiet for the light. A man who loved and did not claim, a woman wounded proud, a truth that cut them both in two, yet would not speak aloud. So listen now, I sing what time left hidden under pain, how love came slowly after war and learned to speak again. The war had passed, but not the wound. The banner still hung tall. The fields had drunk too much of blood, the houses too much mourned. She came from fire and broken shields, from death no song could tame. She carried winter in her eyes and silence in her name. He saw her there but did not reach. He knew the cost of pride. He stood beside her like a lamp and kept his love inside. For she had loved another man, a king beyond her claim. And all the halls were full of him, his crown, his sword, his name. She asked him for that story once, the story others knew. And he, who loved her secretly, gave only what was true. The story drew blood from them both, yet still it had to be true. Every word that wounded him was one he owed to her. She bled to hear of another, he bled to speak of him. The lamp burned low between them, and the room grew dim. He told her how the forest held him, how the stars looked newly made, how one immortal woman stood where mortal hopes had prayed. He did not darken what was bright, he did not stain the name. He did not make the rival small to feed his hidden flame. He raised the absent man with care, he set the gold upon his brow. Each honor given to the king, bent his own head down. For love, when it is still unspoken, has many ways to fall. It may turn bitter in the mouth, it may make itself small. But his love would not buy sorrow with half a poisoned truth. He would not turn her grieving heart against the man she knew. If he was brave, he named him brave. If he was kind, he said it plain. No shadow from his jealous mouth would fall upon that name. The story drew blood did not break before him. Her hands remained her own, but grief moved through her fingers like fire under stone. The name of the other woman entered with a weight, as if a door had opened once and closed a breath too late. Was she beautiful? The wounded ask, though they know before the blade. Some questions rise from grief itself to feel the answer made. And he did not spare her gently, he did not fail the light. He gave the truth in full to her and left no lie that night. She saw the forest in his words, she saw the silver air, she saw the woman standing there and felt her standing there. But she would not curse her beauty, she would not curse his name. What she had loved was unanswered, yet it was not her shame. Let it bleed clean, let the blade go through. Some wounds must open rightly before the heart is true. Do not dim the lantern, do not soften night. If the wound must open, let it open right. She had carried him like fever, she had worn his name like steel. But the fever had a shadow, and the steel had taught her not to feel. She had made a throne of longing, she had crowned a closed door. She had called the dark a kingdom and asked it to be more. Every word he gave her burned the dream away, not the love she thought she carried, but the lie beneath its name. He watched the wound go through her, he watched her hold her ground. No cry of blame escaped her, no hatred made a sound. For she would not heal by hatred, she would not be saved by him. She would not make another woman pay for grief grown dim. And he who could have claimed her pain kept silent at the edge. Love stood near but did not cross the sorrow it had pledged. The story drew blood from them both, yet still it had to be true. Every word that wounded him was one he owed to her. Let it bleed clean, let it bleed clean, let the blade go through, blade go through. The wound that opens rightly is the wound the heart lives through. Do not think they loved them, not yet, not in the songs. No vow had crossed the chamber, no hand had reached too long. He carried his name in silence, she carried another's flame. The lamp burned low between them, and neither spoke of claim. Yet something in that hour had altered grief and breath. Truth had entered softly where dreams had lived like death. and still choose to breathe. He could bear the wound he made and still refuse to leave. The story drew blood from them both, yet still it had to be true. Every word that wounded him was one he owed to her. She bled to hear of another, he bled to speak of him. The lamp burned low between them, and the room grew dim. Let it bleed clean, let it bleed clean. Let the blade go through. Some truths do not come gently, but they teach the hearted you. No crown, no claim, no victory, no fever dream restored. Only truth beside a candle and a silence they both bore. So ends the first remembering, not with kiss or vow, but with a wound made honest and a dream unthroned somehow. The great songs kept the kingly road, the sword, the crown, the flame. But here began another road no trumpet dared to name. He told the truth and lost her further. She heard the truth and stood, and love, still hidden from them both, waited where only silence could. Now hear the second remembering. The wound had opened clean. The dream had lost its fever, but the grief was not yet green. No kiss had crossed the chamber, no vow had touched the air. Still love stood near in silence, too careful to be prayer. For after truth has wounded, and after dreams depart, another truth must enter the ruins of the heart. Not the truth of kings and crowns, not the tale of who was lost, but the truth of one who stood through pain and never knew the cost. He told her what was true before, though every word cut through, then softly turned the lamp again and named what else was true. You were not made of distance, you were not cold above the pain. You carried every frightened voice that broke against your name. You knew the winter of your people, you knew the weight they bore. You heard the horses in the dark and did not bar the door. Not for crown or courtly honor, not for songs the proud men sing. You loved the fields that raised you more than any passing king. No crown above her, no legend over her. After his story cut through, truth about her, no deathless name above her, no borrowed flame. No one bore such sorrow and still remained her own. The great songs told of armies, of banners torn and high, but fields remember other things that pass the singers by. They remember black wings falling and daylight losing breath. They remember one who stood alone before the face of death. The bravest turned from shadow, the strong grew still with dread, but she stood near the fallen king, where even hope had fled. No man the darkness named itself could bring that terror down. No living sword could strike the Lord, who came without a crown, yet wounded mortal, shaking with grief still in her eyes. She rose beneath her broken shield and gave the blade its rise. No crown above her, no legend over her. After his story cut through, he told the truth about her. The field remembered what she did, though songs might pass it by. A wounded heart, a mortal hand that would not let hope die. And even how she loved the king was no small or lesser thing. She loved as if the broken world might answer her with spring. He would not curse that longing, he would not call it blind. A heart that dares such fullness is not a heart made small. If he was not the answer, still her love was not in vain. It showed the height within her, even as it brought her pain. So he did not take the old wound and turn it into shame. He did not say forget him, he did not stain the name. He only placed beside her grief a truth she had not known, that she was not the lesser flame, and the sorrow was not thrown. No crown above her, no legend over her, no deathless name could dim her, no borrowed flame could burn her. No one stood like she had stood, with the wound still in her eyes. No one wore such sorrow and still refused the night. Then something moved beneath the ash, not loud, not healed, not whole. A buried spring beneath the snow remembered its own soul. She stood inside his words a while, not knowing what to keep. They fell through all the silence and reached what would not sleep. She remembered winter halls and waited waiting after war, the frightened ones behind her, and her hand upon the door. She remembered every face that looked to her for breath, the old, the weak, the children left in the shadowed depth. She had called her care a chain, she had named her staying small, but she had kept the lamp alive when night came for them all. Under the ash, under the snow, something still remembered how the spring would grow. Under the wound, under the grief, something in the silence still belonged to her. She remembered black wings falling, and the king beneath the sky, the broken shield below her, and iron cold against her skin. She remembered how she trembled, how all but her pulse went still, how her hand was shaking when it rose up from the ground. If her hand shook in the darkness, still the hand was hers. Courage was not freedom from fear, but fear that crossed the line. The old songs loved the fearless, they gave the brave no breath, but she had known the body's fear and stood before its death. So let the singers learn it, the shaking hand may rise, a wounded heart may hold the field, a mortal blade may answer lies. Under the ash, under the ash, under the snow, under the snow, something still remembered how the spring would grow. Under the wound, under the wound, under the grief, under the grief, something in the silence still belonged to her. Care did not dim her fire, fear did not still her hand, love did not leave her lesser, she was still beneath all three. Do not say he saved her, do not make him Lord. He did not heal her sorrow by kindness or by sword. He saw what grief had hidden, he named what had survived, and what he saw awakened what pain had left alive. She remembered how she loved once and would not call it shame. It was not small because unanswered, it was not false because it failed. She loved him like a doorway out of stone and out of night. She loved him like the open fields she had almost lost from sight. But no one man is mourning, no one heart is all the sky. What she wanted was not worthless, but she need not call it mine. No crown above her, no legend over her. After his story cut through, he told the truth about her. Under the ash, under the ash, under the snow, under the snow, something still remembered how the spring would grow. No deathless name above her, no borrowed flame, no one bore such sorrow and still remained her own. Under the wound, under the wound, under the grief, under the grief, something in the silence still belonged to her. So ends the second remembering, not with hands entwined, but with a woman finding what grief had left behind. He spoke as if she shone, she could not yet believe, but what he saw awakened what had not died beneath. The great songs crowned the other heads, the king, the sword, the flame, but here beneath the ash and snow, her heart recalled its name, and love still hidden from them both no longer stood in pain. It waited where the thaw began for spring to speak again. Now hear the third remembering. The ash had begun to thaw. The wound had found its silence. The heart had found its law. No crown had crossed between them. No vow had claimed the air. But love had grown in patience, too humble to declare. He had loved her before morning, while night still held the wound. He had loved the name they carried, the woman grief had crowned, but her heart had ridden elsewhere, past reach of hand or word. So he stayed beside the quiet and spoke only what she heard. He walked where she was walking, but never crossed her way. He stood where kindness placed him and let his longing stay. If kindness kept him near her, love kept his hands still. He would not make her sorrow a doorway to his will. Yet every quiet hour drew nearer to her name. He held the words in darkness until they gathered flame. He saw her touch the flowers as if spring might be allowed. He heard her voice grow steadier, less broken in its sound, and deeper than he loved her, for a strength no song had told. Not the sword before the shadow, but the heart that would not fold. He was no king, he brought no throne, no ancient sword, no halls of stone, no crown to lay upon her, no claim upon her own. Only steps beside her, if her road could bear his own. Found her eyes in a light he had not seen, and he dared a little nearer to the truth he held between. He had faced the dark in armor, where the noon went pale, flame, only standing near her sorrow and almost speaking her name. For love can cross a battlefield and tremble all the same. So at last he brought no glory, he brought no lifted sword, he brought no song of conquest, no kingly golden word. He brought a quiet field, a winter fire, a spring, a room where grief might loosen without owing anything. He was no king, he brought no throne, no ancient sword, no halls of stone. A smaller kingdom if she chose, not walls to hold her bound, only a road beside her road where his footsteps sound. But love is not always known when the loved one stands nearby. Sometimes the room must empty before the heart knows why. She did not know at first what changed when he was near, only that the room grew softer and the morning less severe. She had been so long in winter, she distrusted every spring. But something in his quiet did not ask for anything. He spoke as if she mattered, without making her explain. He did not touch her sorrow as if it were a chain. He let the silence breathe there, he let the wounds stay true, and slowly she grew lighter in the stillness next to him. She knew it when he left her, and the light withdrew. Not the sun from the garden, but the light she saw in him. She missed the way he saw her, as if she still stood whole. She missed the quiet mercy of the space he did not close. Then she began to listen for his step beyond the door, and every empty hour was shaped around his voice. She missed his eyes at morning, how they brightened when she came, as if the life within her had remembered its own name. Not as Lord or healer, not as answer to the call, but as one who saw her whole before she spoke at all. Then she knew what grief had done. It taught her fear of brightness, even in the sun. Yet there were days she did not seek him, and still listened for his tread. There were rooms she crossed in sunlight and missed the words he said. The garden kept its brightness, the morning crossed the air. Still the world grew poorer when she did not find him there. She knew it when he left her, and the light withdrew. Not the sun from the garden, but the light she saw in him. She missed the way he saw her, as if she still stood whole. She missed the quiet mercy of the space he did not close. No crown had called her forward, no dream had pulled her blind. Only peace beside his courage, only light she wished to find. If he had loved her quietly through every truth that hurt, then let her path draw nearer, let their steps find ground. No smaller life awaited her, no lesser dawn had shone, only a road beside his road, and the home she did not know. So the love that came between them did not conquer seas or save. It did not rise like banners, it did not rule the brave. It waded through the wounded truth, it waded under snow, it waited until both could stand and freely turn to go. He was no king, he brought no throne, no ancient sword, no halls of stone. She was no prize, she was no flame for some great song to borrow and crown another name. No crown above her, no claim upon her own, only a road beside his road, and a home she did not know. She knew it when he left her, and the light withdrew. Not the sun from the garden, but the light she saw in him. He loved without possessing, she chose without a chain, and love came slowly after war, through truth, through ash, through pain. So ends the hidden singing, the song no trumpet bore, not of how a kingdom rose, but how two hearts learned more. The great songs kept the kingly road, the sword, the crown, the flame. They sang of fields where darkness fell, and death forgot its name. But this was what they left behind, too quiet for their art. A man who would not claim a wound, a woman who returned to heart. He told the truth and did not reach, she bled and stood her ground. He named the light she could not see, she heard it without sound. He brought no throne, she asked no throne, no borrowed dawn was shown, only a road beside a road, and the home they came to know. So listen when the great songs end, when halls grow still again, the deepest loves may enter softly, after glory, after pain. Not crown, not claim, not victory, not the fever of a dream. Love came slowly, wound by wound, until both hearts were